What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it's time to get into a very controversial topic within the Call of Duty community. This does come up pretty much every year at some point throughout the game's life cycle, and this is quickscoping. I've been seeing a lot of complaints lately in the community, especially with the Bare Bones playlist when it comes to quickscopers just completely taking over and ruining lobbies, as a lot of people will say. On the other end of that, I have been seeing quite a few snipers that are quite happy with the current state of how things are going. I've been seeing more and more clips on Twitter of people doing some pretty crazy things with a sniper rifle. So today I wanted to take a look at both sides of the argument here and then share what I feel about the current state of quickscoping in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. Now, just to get my bias out of the way at the beginning here, I do want to be very clear, I am not much of a quickscoper. I don't quickscope often. From time to time, I guess, if I'm really bored and I just want to mess around and see how it's going with quickscoping, I will hop on and do that. But I'm not really into quickscoping myself. However, I will also say I am not completely anti-quickscoping by any means. I do think quickscoping does have a place in Call of Duty. Without having the ability to quickscope at all, sniper rifles would be pretty much completely useless in a game like Black Ops 4 when you look at its map design. It's not like a lot of the really old Call of Duty games where you would traditionally have the really long sniper lanes and then you'd have the close quarters areas that would kind of battle around those longer lines of sight. So I definitely feel that quickscoping does have a place in Call of Duty when balanced properly. So let's have a look at the pro quickscoping side before we get into the other side. Keep in mind, I don't necessarily agree with everything that I'm going to be mentioning here. It's just the arguments that that side tends to have. So the first thing that you often see brought up by the pro quickscoping side of things is it takes skill and practice to do consistently. And that's absolutely true. I agree with that statement 100%. It does take a certain level of skill and quite a bit of practice to really master that timing, as well as setting yourself up in the proper positions, because your positioning is going to be completely different than your positioning would tend to be with a regular gun. So when we're talking about doing it consistently, at least, I do completely agree with that argument. The next argument they tend to have is it's high risk, high reward. So you get one shot, and if you miss it, you're dead with a sniper rifle. And at least in the closer range situations, this is definitely true. At longer ranges, you can often back behind cover and rechamber, and then you can come back out and peek again. But up close, yes, if you miss against a competent player, you're pretty much completely screwed. There's not much you can do in that situation. Another thing when quickscoping is if you get attacked at the exact same time by multiple enemies and they aren't lined up for that collateral, once again, you're going to be finding yourself in trouble. You can probably quickscope one of them, but assuming they're at least half competent, that second player will be able to take you out before you're able to rechamber or swap to your pistol. And this just leaves us with one other argument on that side of things. Of course, there's probably a few more, but these are like the main ones that I wanted to bring up. But this argument is there is a whole community built around this particular mechanic. The quickscoping community in Call of Duty, while it is a very small portion of the total population, it's a pretty sizable number of players. And for a lot of them, this is how they get enjoyment out of the game, and if quickscoping weren't possible, they would be playing something else, or they wouldn't be playing at all. So from that side of things, I also kind of understand it would suck to be alienated if you're a part of a community that has existed within Call of Duty since like COD 4 or even earlier, and then the devs just decide, nope, no more, you're not able to do that. Then that would alienate a lot of people. So I think there's definitely some good arguments on that side of things. I do think quickscoping should exist, at least in some capacity. But now let's look at the other side of the argument and the things that you tend to hear from people that are against quickscoping. Once again, I don't necessarily agree with every single one of these points, but I will agree with a bunch of them. So the first thing that you often see brought up, I've brought this up many times in the past, and it's even more true in this game because we have a slightly slower time to kill with the regular guns, but pretty much the same behavior with the sniper rifles. And this is statistical time to kill. With a sniper rifle, if you're quickscoping, your time to kill is equal to your aim down sight time. So for the Paladin, this is 400 milliseconds. For the Koshka, this is 360 milliseconds, although with the Quick Draw 2 attachment, you can cut this all the way down to 200 milliseconds, which is a faster aim down sight time than all of the assault rifles and many of the SMGs. Now, if we average out the statistical minimum time to kill for the assault rifles within their maximum damage ranges, so this is where they are designed to excel, the average minimum time to kill is 325 milliseconds. But that doesn't factor in aim down sight time, so that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting accurate shots off. If we also add our average aim down sight time, which is 300 milliseconds with the assault rifles, our statistical time to kill value with the assault rifles on average in their maximum damage range is 625 milliseconds, which is noticeably slower than the Paladin and more than 3 times slower than the Koshka. It's a very similar story with the SMGs and the tactical rifles as well, but just to keep things simple, let's just focus on the assault rifles. So what these stats show is if you find yourself in a face-to-face gunfight against a quickscoper, and let's just say you're using the ICR, which has a pretty average time to kill for assault rifles, assuming both players are equally skilled, they're both going to be hitting all of their shots, and they react at the exact same time, the quickscoper is winning that fight every single time. It's not even close. That ICR player has no chance whatsoever if that quickscoper hits his shot. And that's against the Paladin, which is the sniper rifle that you see most often used by quickscopers. But when we look at the Koshka with double quick draw, in this same situation, the sniper will kill the assault rifle player before that assault rifle player can get aimed down sight. So one of the most common arguments you see against quickscoping is if you're using a regular gun against somebody that is competent at quickscoping, there's a certain feeling of helplessness, like there's nothing you could have done in that situation. The gunfight is 100% in the sniper's hands, even when you're playing to the strengths of your gun. Even if you're using an SMG and making sure that you keep yourself within those really close range situations, it doesn't matter if that sniper hits his shot. So it's kind of the flip side to the sniper's argument that, oh, if I miss, then I lose the fight. Well, what if you hit the shot? If you hit the shot, I never really had a chance. So I think that's a pretty strong argument against quickscoping when there is a large discrepancy between the time to kill values. And like I said, with Black Ops 4, we have the biggest discrepancy that we've ever seen in a Call of Duty game between those time to kill values. This brings us to the next argument against it that kind of piles on top of the last one, and this is sniper rifles are meant to dominate long ranges, and they do in this game. When you do get yourself in the long ranges, which like I said, the map design isn't really the best to force that, which is why I feel quickscoping should exist in some capacity, but the sniper rifles absolutely dominate long lines of sight. The problem with this is when you have good quickscoping in the game as well, they also have the potential to dominate every other range on the map. So you can go from quickscoping an SMG user up close before they even realistically had a chance of killing you, to suddenly switching and picking somebody off across the map with a slightly more precise shot. So for a lot of people, the argument is snipers shouldn't have that really good killing potential at every single range. If you look at shotguns, for instance, those are meant to dominate up close, and they generally do, but when you try and snipe somebody at long range with them, nothing happens at all. So if you run into a really annoying shotgun user, for instance, you can just make sure that you're putting yourself in situations where he can't get up close to you. It's actually quite easy to adapt your playstyle to a shotgun user. A really good quickscoper, on the other hand, there's not really a whole lot you can do to consistently counter them throughout a match. Try and keep them at long ranges, they'll pick you off. Try and get up close and personal, they'll pick you off. It doesn't really matter. So that's another argument against quickscoping. Let's get into the next one, and this is anybody can do it. And this is actually true. Like I said, I'm not a practiced quickscoper by any means, but I hopped into a couple matches just messing around with a sniper rifle without any practice or anything, and I was able to do some pretty crazy things with a sniper rifle that I honestly surprised myself. I didn't think I'd be able to do those, and it honestly felt just a little bit too easy seeing this happen. So with this one, I do find myself somewhere in the middle. Yes, pretty much anybody can pick this up and actually land some quickscopes every now and then, but on the other side of it, to be able to do that consistently, that takes a lot of skill and practice. So I'll be completely honest, in these games, I didn't really do all that well overall. By the end of the game, if you looked at the scores, they weren't the greatest scores. But having said that, I was still able to win many situations in close ranges with a sniper rifle as somebody that doesn't really snipe. So those are the two sides of the argument that you typically see. Like I said, I probably missed out on a few points that either side will use. But now I want to share my thoughts on this, and personally, my thoughts on quickscoping in Black Ops 4 in its current state is I think it is just a little bit too powerful. Now again, for all you quickscopers out there, before you jump on me, I am not asking for the sniper rifles to be completely nerfed into the ground so that it's impossible to quickscope. Not by any means. There are just a few adjustments I personally would like to see that I personally feel would reduce a lot of the frustration in very specific situations against quickscopers. My biggest problem in this game when coming up against good quickscopers is the fact that, first off, they do have that faster time to kill ability than I do, even when I'm playing properly to the strengths of my gun, and they aren't necessarily playing properly to the intended strengths of a sniper rifle. And second, in those situations, I'm often in the process of landing 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 shots on them before they get their shot off, and yet it seems like relatively consistently, they're still able to land that quickscope against me. These are by far the most frustrating situations I personally find when I'm coming across a competent quickscoper. I really don't mind if they just straight up quickscope me before I react or realize where they were, or if they were just preparing for me to come around a corner, for instance, and they were already in the process of pre-aiming and they picked me off right away. I've got no problem with that. I mean, fair play. They've really practiced that ability, and that's great. However, when I'm playing to the strengths of my gun, I'm hitting my shots before you're able to aim down sight and shoot me. I personally feel the odds of him hitting that shot on me should be extremely low, regardless of that person's skill level. Like I said, if you're using a regular gun and playing to the strengths of that regular gun, if that sniper hits a shot, you stand no chance. And I don't think that balance is fair in Black Ops 4 with the slower time to kill than we're normally used to. So the one change I would like to see made to quickscoping in Black Ops 4 multiplayer is increased flinch unless you're fully aimed down sight. So this would affect the people that are quickscoping as they're in the process of aiming down sight. I feel they should have more flinch than they currently do, but once they get fully aimed down sight, I think the current flinch values are fine. And the reason I don't want that changed is I feel like that would too strongly affect the regular or traditional sniping, the hard scoping, and I don't feel that that is in a terrible place in this game. I think that is pretty much right where it should be. So I think it's primarily as they're aiming down sight. If I'm hitting 2, 3, or 4 shots on them, I feel they should be kicked way off target. And I know a lot of you snipers out there are going to hate me for saying that, but I feel like that is a fair and balanced compromise when we're looking at the slower time to kill values that we have in Black Ops 4. This wouldn't change a lot of the situations while quickscoping. It wouldn't change the way that the sniper rifles actually feel as you're quickscoping, so I'm not saying they need to slow down the aim down sight time or anything. All of that would still feel the same. I just feel in those situations, if the reg gun user is playing to the strengths of their gun and they're hitting their shots on you, they should be given the benefit of the doubt. That gunfight shouldn't be entirely in the sniper's hands. It should lean more towards the regular gun user. For the really skilled quickscopers out there that are properly predicting enemy movement, this shouldn't have a serious negative impact on them because they're hitting their shots before the enemies are able to shoot back at them in the first place. And like I said, I think that is totally fine. If you're able to do that, that shows that you're really on top of your game as a quickscoper, and I think that should be fine. I've actually noticed a lot of the clips that I see where people are getting crazy quad feeds and stuff, they're clean quickscopes. They're not getting shot in the process. They're picking those people off because they're predicting the enemy movement really effectively. If you screw up and you're too slow and that enemy starts landing shots on you, I'm sorry, I feel like you should be missing those shots. But of course, that's just my opinion on this. Time to open the floodgates in the comment section below. All I ask is that you try to remain at least somewhat civil down there. I realize this is always a heated debate, but I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about this in the comment section down below. Do you think quickscoping is currently balanced in Black Ops 4, or do you think it should be buffed or nerfed? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time. Yeah.